diving into the world where design meets business, specifically in apps.
Yeah.
We're going to dissect how those features we love aren't just there for fun,
Right.
but actually carefully crafted to help the companies behind them thrive.
Yeah, it's like a hidden language, isn't it?
Yeah,
A well-designed app can subtly guide you towards behavior that benefit both you and the company.
exactly. And understanding this hidden language can be a game changer.
Right.
It's all about understanding how business goals, product goals, and UX goals all work together to create a successful app.
Right.
Think of it like a three-legged stool. Each leg is crucial for stability.
Yeah, and if even one leg is wobbly, the whole thing can topple over.
Right.
We've all experienced those apps that just felt off right. Maybe they're clunky to navigate, or they bombard you with notifications.
Right, or they make it impossible to find the one feature you actually need.
Right.
Those are often signs of misaligned goals.
Yeah.
So let's break down each leg of the stool, starting with the business goals.
Oh.
These are the big picture aspirations of the company, like reaching a certain number of users or achieving a specific customer lifetime value, which is the total revenue they expect to earn from each user over their lifetime.
Think of these as the North Star metrics.
Okay?
They indicate the overall health and success of the business.
Right.
But here's the catch. They're lagging indicators.
Oh.
They tell you where you ended up, but not necessarily how you got there.
That's where product goals come in, right?
Exactly. Product goals are the actionable steps the app itself takes to drive user engagement and behavior that ultimately feed into those big picture business goals.
Okay.
These are the things the app can directly influence,
Right.
like increasing daily active users, boosting those all-important referrals, or improving user retention, basically getting people to stick around and keep using the app.
So if business goals are the destination, product goals are the roadmap.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And these product goals are measured using leading indicators,
Okay.
early signs that can predict future success. For
Right.
instance, if you see a spike in user referrals,
Right.
it's a pretty good indicator that you're on the right track towards achieving your business goal of growing your user base.
Okay. I'm seeing the connection. But where does UX fit into this whole equation?
UX, or user experience, is the secret sauce that can make or break those product goals.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about making sure the individual user's experience is smooth, enjoyable, and helps them accomplish what they want to do within the app.
Right.
And this is where things get really interesting, because a well-crafted UX can have a massive impact on those leading indicators we talked about.
So give me an example. How can good UX actually lead to some more referrals?
Take Instagram, for instance.
Okay.
One of the key factors behind their meteoric rise was their laser focus on making photo sharing incredibly easy and intuitive.
Right.
Remember back in the day when posting a picture online was a multi-step ordeal?
Oh, yeah.
Instagram came along and said, nope, 2 taps and you're done. That ease of use, coupled with their emphasis on visual appeal, made sharing inherently enjoyable, and people naturally wanted to invite their friends to join the fun.
So a good UX made the product inherently shareable, which
yeah.
then fueled user growth, which
Yeah.
was their business goal.
Right.
It's like a chain reaction.
Exactly. And that's the power of aligning these 3 layers.
Okay.
It's not just about creating a beautiful app. It's about creating an app that is both beautiful and strategically designed to achieve specific business objectives.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But we've all used apps that look gorgeous but are a nightmare to actually use.
Right.
What went wrong in those cases?
That's a classic example of misaligned goals.
Okay.
Maybe the design team got so caught up in aesthetics that they overlooked functionality, or perhaps the business team pushed for features that cluttered the user experience.
Right.
In those cases, you might see a beautiful app with dismal engagement numbers because people are simply frustrated with using it.
So it's like putting a fancy sports car engine in a clunky minivan. It might look impressive on paper,
Right.
but it's not going to perform well on the road.
That's a great analogy. And this is why it's so crucial to understand the why behind each design choice.
Okay.
Every button, every menu, every notification should serve a purpose,
Okay.
not just aesthetically, but strategically.
Okay. So how do we as users start seeing those strategic choices? What should we be looking for?
Well, one way is to start paying attention to how an app guides your behavior.
Okay.
For example, let's say you download a meditation app,
Right.
and the first thing it does is prompt you to schedule daily reminders.
Right.
That's a deliberate design choice aimed at increasing daily active users, which in turn contributes to their goal of user retention.
I see. It's not just a helpful reminder, it's a strategic nudge.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Or think about the placement of the share button in your favorite social media app.
Okay.
Is it prominently displayed?
Right.
Is it easy to find?
Right.
That's no accident.
Right.
The company wants to make sharing as frictionless as possible because they know that increased sharing leads to more users, which ultimately boosts their bottom line.
So it's like a treasure hunt. We need to start looking for the clues that reveal the strategy behind the design.
Exactly. And once you start seeing those clues, you'll gain a whole new appreciation for the intricate dance happening behind the scenes of your favorite apps.
It's like having X-ray vision for the digital world. So how can we as users go beyond just seeing these strategies and actually start applying this knowledge in our own lives?
Yeah.
Maybe even spot opportunities to improve the apps we use.
That's a great question. It all starts with understanding the framework we've been talking about.
Right.
Those 3 interconnected layers of goals.
Right.
Let's break down how you can use this knowledge to become a more discerning app user and maybe even contribute to making those apps even better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how we can use this framework to become more savvy app users.
Okay.
Where do we start?
Well, the next time you download an app, try to identify the business goals behind it.
Okay.
What is the company ultimately trying to achieve? Is it user growth, revenue generation, or something else?
Okay, so put on our detective hats and look for clues.
Right.
What are some telltale signs?
You can look at the app's marketing materials, their website, or even their About Us section.
Okay.
They often explicitly state their mission or vision.
Right.
Or you can look at the app's features and functionality.
Okay.
What does the app prioritize? What does it encourage you to do?
So if an app is constantly nudging you to invite friends or share your activity on social media, user growth is probably a key business goal.
Right.
But if it's heavily focused on in-app purchases or subscriptions, revenue generation is likely top of mind.
Exactly. Once you have a sense of the business goals, you can start to see how the product goals and UX choices are designed to support them.
Like those daily reminders in the meditation app. The company wants to keep users engaged, so they nudge them to open the app every day, boosting those daily active user numbers and ultimately contributing to their retention goals.
Precisely. And then you can start to evaluate the effectiveness of the UX.
Okay.
Is the app truly enjoyable to use? Does it feel intuitive and helpful? Or does it feel manipulative and pushy?
So we can use this framework not just to understand the strategy behind an app, but also to judge its quality and decide if it's worth our time and attention.
Right.
It's like a superpower.
It is. And here's where things get really interesting once you start thinking this way. You might also start noticing areas where an app could improve.
Okay.
Maybe you identify a clunky onboarding process that's hindering user retention, or a poorly placed share button that's limiting user growth.
So instead of just being passive consumers, we can become active participants in shaping the apps we use?
Exactly. And that feedback is invaluable to companies.
Right.
Don't underestimate the power of a well-written app review or a thoughtful email to customer support. You might just inspire them to make changes that benefit everyone.
Okay, I'm feeling empowered. But let's shift gears a bit.
Great.
We've been talking about this from the user's perspective.
Right.
What about companies or developers who are creating apps? How can they ensure they're effectively aligning these 3 layers of goals?
It all starts with clear communication and collaboration.
Okay.
The business team, the product team, and the UX team need to be in constant dialogue, sharing their insights and perspectives.
It's like that 3-legged stool again.
Right.
Each leg needs to be strong and in sync with the others.
Exactly. They need to develop a shared understanding of the target user, their needs, and their pain points.
Okay.
And they need to define clear metrics for each layer of goals so they can track their progress and make adjustments along the way.
So it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. It's
Right.
an ongoing process of iteration and refinement.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that the world of apps is constantly evolving. New trends emerge, user expectations change, and competitors are always innovating.
So companies need to be agile and adaptable, constantly evaluating their strategy and making adjustments as needed.
Precisely. And this is where user feedback becomes so crucial.
Okay.
Companies need to actively solicit feedback from their users through surveys, focus groups, or even just by paying close attention to app reviews.
It's like taking the pulse of your audience, making sure you're still meeting their needs and exceeding their expectations.
Exactly. And this feedback loop can be incredibly powerful.
Right.
It can help companies identify areas for improvement, spot emerging trends, and stay ahead of the curve.
It sounds like the key takeaway here is that creating a successful app isn't just about building something that looks good or has cool features.
Right.
It's about understanding your users, aligning your goals, and constantly iterating based on feedback.
You got it. It's a holistic approach that requires a deep understanding of both the art and science of app development.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, from understanding those 3 layers of goals to becoming more savvy app users and even offering insights to developers.
Yeah.
But before we wrap things up, I want to ask you, what's one app that you think truly excels at aligning business product and UX goals?
That's a great question. One that immediately comes to mind is Headspace.
Okay.
It's a meditation app, but it goes far beyond just providing guided meditations.
Oh, I love Headspace. What makes them so good at this?
Well, first off, their business goal is clear.
Okay.
Make meditation accessible and appealing to a wide audience, ultimately aiming for a large and engaged user base.
And how do they translate that into product goals and UX choices?
Their product goals focus on creating a seamless and engaging user experience that encourages daily practice.
Okay.
They do this through personalized recommendations, gamified challenges, and bite-sized content that fits easily into busy schedules.
Right. They have those cute little animations and they're always adding new courses and series.
Yeah,
They make it feel fun and rewarding, not intimidating or preachy.
exactly. And that's where their UX shines.
Okay.
The app is beautifully designed, incredibly intuitive to use, and personalized to your specific needs and goals.
So it feels like they're not just selling a product, they're building a community and fostering a lifestyle.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
They've managed to create an experience that feels both personal and supportive, which is essential for building long-term engagement.
I see that. It's not just about ticking off meditation minutes, it's about creating a positive habit and integrating mindfulness into your daily life.
Right.
And that aligns perfectly with their business goal of building a large and engaged user base.
Exactly. They've created a virtuous cycle where a delightful user experience drives product engagement, which in turn fuels business success.
Okay, so Headspace is a great example of what happens when those 3 legs of the stool are perfectly aligned.
Yeah.
But what are some common pitfalls that companies fall into? What causes that stool to wobble?
One of the biggest pitfalls is losing sight of the user in the pursuit of metrics. It's easy to get caught up in chasing numbers,
Yeah.
like downloads or daily active users.
Right.
But if those numbers aren't translating into genuine user satisfaction and engagement,
Right.
they're ultimately meaningless.
It's like that old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Right.
You can get people to download your app,
Yeah.
but you can't force them to love it.
That's a perfect analogy. And this is where empathy comes in.
Okay.
Companies need to truly understand their target audience, their needs, their motivations, their frustrations,
Yeah.
and they need to design experiences that address those needs in a meaningful way.
So it's not just about building an app that checks all the boxes on a feature list.
Right.
It's about creating an app that resonates with people on an emotional level.
Exactly. And that's where user research becomes so crucial.
Okay.
Talking to your users, observing how they interact with your app, and gathering their feedback can provide invaluable insights that you might never glean from data alone.
It's like the difference between reading a restaurant review and actually tasting the food yourself.
Right.
You can get a general sense from the review, but you won't truly know until you experience it firsthand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those firsthand experiences can reveal so much about what's working well and what needs improvement.
Okay, so empathy and user research are key.
Yeah.
What are some other common pitfalls that can trip companies up?
Another common trap is feature creep.
Okay.
It's tempting to keep adding more and more features, thinking that more is always better.
I'm guilty of this in my own life. Oh, this new gadget can do 10 things instead of 5. I need it.
Right. But just like in our physical lives,
Yeah.
clutter in the digital world can be overwhelming and counterproductive.
Right.
Adding too many features can make an app complex and confusing,
Uh-huh.
ultimately detracting from the user experience.
It's like trying to stuff too many clothes into a suitcase.
Yeah.
Eventually, it just won't close properly.
Exactly. So it's crucial to be strategic about which features you include and to prioritize those that truly align with your core goals
Right.
and enhance the user experience.
So it's not about having the most bells and whistles. It's about having the right bells and whistles.
Beautifully put. And remember, simplicity is often the key to a delightful user experience.
Think of those apps that just feel effortless to use.
Yeah.
They don't overwhelm you with options. They just guide you gently towards your goal.
Those are the apps that people fall in love with and keep coming back to.
Right.
And that's what ultimately translates into business success.
So for those listening who are thinking about building their own app, what's the one piece of advice you'd give them based on everything we've talked about today?
Start with the user.
Okay.
Put yourself in their shoes.
Okay.
Understand their needs, their desires, or their pain points.
Right.
And let that understanding guide every decision you make, from the initial concept to the final design details.
Because at the end of the day, if you're not building something that people truly want and need, all those other goals, user growth, revenue generation, market dominance become meaningless.
Beautifully said. And never stop learning.
Right.
The world of apps is constantly evolving, so stay curious, stay informed, and stay connected to your users.
It's been an absolute pleasure diving into this topic with you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I feel like I've gained a whole new level of understanding about the apps I use every day.
That's great to hear.
And I know our listeners are going to walk away with a ton of valuable insights.
Well, I hope so.
We've covered a lot of ground, but ultimately it all boils down to this.
Yeah,
Build something that people love, and the rest will follow.
absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's a great takeaway. So until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those apps delightful.
Cheers to that.